The afternoon sun filtered through the kitchen window, casting long shadows across the linoleum floor. I was 15, standing at the counter making a sandwich, when I found the envelope. It had fallen behind the bread box, cream-colored, formal, with the family court seal embossed in blue. My name was on it. Emma Catherine Walsh. The date, 2 weeks ago. I'm Emma, 15 years old, living in Portland, Oregon, in a house that always smelled like coffee and tension. My parents had been working things out for months, which really meant they barely spoke except through tight smiles and careful politeness. My hands shook as I opened the envelope I wasn't supposed to see. Custody determination hearing, Walsh versus Walsh. The court has determined the following arrangement. Primary custody of Michael Walsh, age 17, awarded to father. Primary custody of Sophie Walsh, age 11, awarded to mother. Emma Catherine Walsh, age 15. Parents unable to reach agreement. Temporary foster placement recommended pending further evaluation. The sandwich ingredients blurred. Lettuce, tomato, the knife still in my hand. Everything suddenly felt surreal, like I was watching myself from outside my body. I read it again. And again. Michael got dad, Sophie got mom. I got nobody? The word foster sat on the page like a stone. Not even a family friend. Not Aunt Rachel or Grandma June. Foster care. Strangers. I heard Dad's truck in the driveway. The door opening. His work boots on the hardwood floor. Emma, you home? I slid the letter back into the envelope, shoved it behind the bread box exactly where I'd found it, and somehow managed to say, yeah, in the kitchen. Dad appeared, still in his electrician's uniform, looking tired. He smiled, that careful smile I'd been seeing for months. How was school? Fine. My voice sounded normal. I don't know how. He grabbed a beer from the fridge, started talking about a job site. Something about faulty wiring. I nodded at the right moments, made the right sounds, while my brain screamed the same question over and over. Why don't they want me? That night, Mom came home late from her shift at the hospital. She's a nurse, night shifts, exhausted. Always smelling like antiseptic and stress. She heated up leftovers, ate standing at the counter, asked about homework. I watched her searching her face for something, guilt, sadness, anything that explained why her 15-year-old daughter wasn't worth fighting for. Nothing, just exhaustion and careful politeness. Mom, can I ask you something? She looked up, chewing. Sure, honey. The words died in my throat. If I asked, she'd know I'd seen the letter. She'd know I knew. And somehow that felt worse than the not knowing. Never mind, just good night. I went to my room, the small one at the end of the hall. Walls covered in art I'd drawn over the years. Charcoal sketches mostly. Faces, hands, shadows.
I pulled out my sketchbook and drew, until 2 a.m. Drew a girl, standing alone in an empty room. Drew parents turning away. Drew a house with 3 doors and only one locked. The next morning, I watched my family at breakfast. Michael, 17, already dad's cloned, all quiet, good with his hands. He was leaving for auto mechanic school in September anyway. Taking him made sense. Sophie, 11, mom's baby. Sweet, chatty, needed taking care of. Taking her made sense too. But me? 15, somewhere in between. Not young enough to need them, not old enough to leave. I was the remainder when they divided their lives. The piece that didn't fit anywhere. I watched them pass the orange juice, talk about the weather, exist in the same space like strangers performing normalcy. And I realized they'd already decided. They'd already chosen everyone but me. I just didn't know yet that I'd found out too soon. 2 weeks pass. I said nothing about the letter. Watched my family like I was studying strangers. Noticing things I'd never seen before. The way Dad joked with Michael about cars, but barely asked me about school. The way Mom braided Sophie's hair every morning, but hadn't done mine since I was 12. The way they divided their attention like I wasn't even there. I started spending more time in my art teacher's classroom after school. Miss Chun was young, maybe 28, with ink-stained fingers and a kind smile. She let me work on whatever I wanted while she graded papers. "You're getting really good at portraits," she said one afternoon, looking at my latest sketch, a faceless figure in an empty doorway. "Thanks. Emma, can I ask you something?" She set down her pen. "Are things okay at home?" The question hit like a slap. I wanted to tell her everything. Wanted to show her the letter. Explain that my parents were giving me away like furniture they didn't have room for. Instead, I said, "Fine, everything's fine." She didn't believe me. I could see it in her eyes. But she just nodded and went back to grading. That Friday, I came home to find Mom and Dad sitting at the kitchen table with a woman I'd never seen before. Professional clothes, kind face, clipboard. "Emma, honey, sit down," Mom said. Her voice had that fake cheerfulness that made my skin crawl. I sat. "This is Mrs. Patterson. She's from Child Protective Services. We've asked her to help us navigate some family changes." Mrs. Patterson smiled. "Hi, Emma. Your parents have explained their situation, the divorce, the custody arrangements. I'm here to make sure you understand what's happening and that you're comfortable with the plan." The plan, like it was a project they were managing. "I understand," I said quietly. "Emma will be staying with a temporary foster family while we finalize the divorce," Dad explained. His voice was steady, businesslike. "It's just for a few months, then we'll figure out something more permanent." "A few months?" My voice cracked. "The Hendersons are a lovely family," Mrs. Patterson said. "They have experience with teenagers. You'd have your own room, help with school, everything you need. Everything except my family." "When?" I asked. Mom and Dad exchanged a glance. That look, the one married people share when they're coordinating a story. 2 weeks, Mom said. "That gives you time to pack, say goodbye to friends." "I don't want to go." Silence. "Emma, honey, this isn't personal," Dad started. "Not personal?" My voice rose despite myself. "You're sending me away and it's not personal?" "We are not equipped to," Mom began. "To what? To keep your own daughter?" Sophie appeared in the doorway, eyes wide. Michael was behind her, looking uncomfortable. "Kids, go upstairs," Dad said. They disappeared. Lucky then. They got to leave. "Emma, you're making this harder than it needs to be," Mom said. Her nurse voice kicking in calm, clinical, emotionless. "I'm making it hard? I'm 15 years old and you're giving me to strangers?" "It's temporary," Dad repeated. "Just until we sort things out." But I'd seen the letter. I knew the truth. This wasn't temporary. This was them deciding I wasn't worth the trouble. Mrs. Patterson left me her card. Said I could call anytime. Said the Hendersons were really nice people. That night, I packed everything I cared about into 2 duffel bags. My sketchbooks, art supplies, the few photographs I wanted to keep, clothes I actually wore, everything that made me fit into 2 bags. The rest furniture, books, childhood toys stayed in my room like a museum of a girl who used to live here. The Henderson house was in Beaverton, 20 minutes from my old life. 2-story, colonial, perfect lawn, basketball hoop in the driveway. Picture-perfect suburban normalcy. Mrs. Patterson drove me there on a Saturday morning. Mom cried when she hugged me goodbye. Dad shook my hand like I was going off to summer camp. Sophie clung to me. "Don't go, Emma. Please don't go." "I have to, Soph. Will you come back?" I didn't answer. I couldn't lie to her. The Hendersons were waiting on the front porch. Bob and Carol, both mid-40s, smiling too wide, trying too hard. "Welcome, Emma." Carol practically sang. "We're so excited to have you." Excited like I was a house guest, not a displaced kid. They showed me my room clean, neutral, impersonal. Like a hotel room. Nothing on the walls. Nothing that suggests anyone actually live here. We can decorate however you like, Carol said. Make it your own. But it wasn't mine. It would never be mine. They had rules, posted on the refrigerator like I was 6. Henderson House Guidelines. Curfew, 9 p.m. weeknights, 11 p.m. weekends. Chores, assigned weekly. No closed bedroom doors. Family dinner at 6:30 p.m. Church on Sundays. Check-in via text every 2 hours when out. The Hendersons had fostered 12 kids over 15 years. They were good at inefficient, organized, experienced. They knew exactly how to manage temporary children. That's what I was, temporary. Their biological daughter, Madison, was away at college. Her room remained perfectly preserved trophies, photos, personality. A shrine to the child they actually wanted. I started at a new school the following Monday, Franklin High instead of Lincoln. New teachers, new classmates, nobody who knew my story. I sat alone at lunch, drew in my sketchbook, disappeared into art whenever possible, until I met Zoe. She sat next to me in English, dyed blue hair, combat boots, attitude for days. She glanced at my sketchbook and said, "You're good. You take commissions?"
What?
Art. Do you sell it? No. You should. People pay stupid money for custom portraits. That's how we became friends. Zoe, who'd been in foster care since she was 8, who understood without needing explanation, who taught me the unwritten rules of survival. Don't get attached, she said one afternoon. At her foster home, her 4th in 6 years. Not to the families, not to the houses, nothing. It all ends eventually. That sounds depressing. It's realistic. The Hendersons are nice, but you're not their daughter. Madison is. You're just passing through. She was right. I saw it every day. The way Carol made Madison's favorite meals, even though she wasn't there. The way Bob mentioned Madison's achievements to everyone. The way they talked about her future college graduation, career, wedding someday with pride and certainty. They talked about my future with careful optimism and no details. Things will work out, they'd say. You'll find your place. My place, like as a puzzle piece that didn't fit anywhere. At night, I'd text Sophie. She'd send me pictures of her day, tell me about school, ask when I was coming home. I never knew what to say. Because the truth was, I didn't have a home anymore. 3 months at the Hendersons turned into 6. My parents' divorce finalized. Michael moved in with Dad. Sophie stayed with Mom. I stayed in limbo. Mrs. Patterson visited monthly, asking the same questions. Are you adjusting well? Do you feel safe? Is there anything you need? What I needed was my family. But that wasn't an option on her checklist. Mom called weekly. Awkward conversations where she asked about school, and I gave one-word answers. Dad texted occasionally short, functional messages. Hope you're doing okay. Love, Dad. Love. Such an easy word to type. Such a hard thing to actually feel from 20 minutes away. Sophie was the only one who seemed to care. She begged to visit, but Mom always had reasons why it wasn't a good time. She's adjusting to the divorce, Emma. Seeing you would confuse her. Translation. Seeing me would remind Sophie that parents sometimes throw away their children. At school, I'd become invisible. Not bullied, not popular, just there. Moving through halls like a ghost. Until art class. Miss Chun Mei, old art teacher from Lincoln, had gotten me transferred to Franklin's advanced art program. Said my portfolio was too strong to waste on basic classes. The teacher, Mr. Kim, was tough, demanded excellence, pushed us past comfortable. Art isn't decoration, he'd say. It's communication. What are you trying to say? For our semester project, we had to create a series exploring identity. I made masks, not literal masks, but portrait drawings where faces were half present, half absent. Features blurred or missing. Eyes that looked through you instead of at you. These are haunting, Mr. Kim said, reviewing my work. Who are they? People who don't exist anymore? He looked at me for a long moment. Do you exist, Emma? The question hit harder than it should have. I don't know, I admitted. Then that's your final piece. Answer that question with your art. That weekend, I created a self-portrait, charcoal on canvas, 3 feet tall, my face, butt fractured, split down the middle. One side detailed, realistic, alive. The other side dissolving, disappearing into white space. I titled it, The Girl They Forgot. Mr. Kim entered it in a citywide high school art competition. I didn't think much of it until he called me into his classroom 3 weeks later. You won. 3rd place, but you won.
What?
He showed me the email. 3rd place, $500 prize. Displayed at the Portland Art Museum's youth exhibition for 3 months. Emma, this is a big deal. The judges want to interview you for the catalog. Interview. About my art. About the girl they forgot. I can't. Why not? Because explaining the art meant explaining my life. Meant admitting that my parents chose everyone but me. Meant making public the private shame of being unwanted. I just can't. But the exhibition happened anyway. My self-portrait hung in the museum alongside 40 other pieces. And people came. Strangers stood in front of my fractured face and saw something that resonated. The Hendersons went to the opening. Carol took photos, congratulated me, posted on Facebook about our talented foster daughter. Our foster daughter, not just daughter. Never just daughter. My parents didn't come. Mom texted, congratulations, honey, so proud. Can't make it tonight, work schedule, but I'll try to see it soon. She never did. Dad texted, great job, Emma. Knew you had talent. Love, Dad. Love, that word again. Meaningless through a screen. But you know who came? Sophie. She convinced Mom to drop her off for 30 minutes. She stood in front of my portrait, 11 years old, staring at her sister's fractured face. Is this how you feel? She whispered.
Yeah.
She grabbed my hand. I miss you every single day. I miss you too, Soph. Can you come home? I don't have a home. She started crying. Right there in the museum, my baby sister broke down. That's not fair. They shouldn't have sent you away. It's okay. It's not okay. You're my sister. You should be with us. A museum guard approached. Carol stepped in, all smiles and apologies. Sophie had to leave. Mom was waiting outside. As she left, she turned back. I'm going to fix this, Emma, I promise. I'm going to make them bring you home. But she was 11. What could she possibly do? Winter turned to spring. My 16th birthday came and went, celebrated at the Hendersons. House with a store-bought cake and forced enthusiasm. Mom sent a card. Dad sent money. Sophie handmade a drawing of us together, labeled Sisters Forever. I taped it above my bed in my temporary room. 9 months. I'd been in foster care for 9 months. Mrs. Patterson kept saying they were working on a permanent solution, but no solution appeared. Then, in April, everything changed. Sophie showed up at Franklin High after school, just appeared at the front entrance, backpack on, determination on her face. Sophie, what are you doing here? I ran away.
What?
I'm not going back. I'm staying with you. My heart stopped. Sophie, you can't. Yes, I can. I told Mom I'm not living there anymore if you can't come home. I told her to choose you or me. Sophie. She chose me, Emma. She always chooses me. But I'm choosing you. She was 11 years old and braver than I'd ever been. I called Mrs. Patterson. She came immediately, along with a police officer and Mom, who arrived frantic and angry. Sophie Renee Walsh, what were you thinking? Mom grabbed her, checking for injuries like she'd been in danger. I was thinking Emma deserves a family too. Sophie yelled back. Everyone stopped. She's our family, Mom. And you sent her away like she was nothing. It's not that simple. Yes, it is. You picked me, Dad picked Michael, and nobody picked Emma. How is that okay? Mom looked at me, really looked at me, for the first time in 9 months. Saw what I'd become. Saw the girl who'd learned to exist without her. Emma, you know it wasn't like that. Then what was it like? My voice came out stronger than expected. You couldn't agree on me, so you just gave up? Sent me away rather than try? We thought it would be temporary. It's been 9 months. 9 months, and you haven't fought for me once? The police officer, Mrs. Pattison, the school security guard, they all watched this family fall apart. In the parking lot, Sophie was crying, I want my sister back. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward. Mrs. Walsh, we need to talk about permanent arrangements. 9 months is too long for temporary placement. Emma needs stability. I know. So what's the solution? Mom looked at Sophie, clinging to her. Looked at me, standing separate, no longer sure where I fit. I don't know, she admitted. I honestly don't know. That night, Mrs. Patterson called an emergency meeting. Mom, Dad, their lawyers, the caseworker, and me, sitting around a conference table like a business negotiation. We have 3 options, Mrs. Patterson said. Emma goes to her mother full-time, her father full-time. Or we find a long-term foster placement until she's 18. 4th option, I said quietly. I emancipate. Everyone turned. I'm 16. Oregon allows emancipation at 16 with court approval. I'll get a job, finish school, live on my own. Emma, that's extreme, Dad started. More extreme than abandoning your daughter for 9 months? Silence. I'll do what I have to do. I'm tired of waiting for people to decide if they want me. The Emancipation petition took 2 weeks to file. Zoe's older sister, a paralegal, helped me with the paperwork. I needed proof of income, housing plan, and educational stability. Mr. Kim offered me a part-time position as his teaching assistant paid. Documented, legitimate. A local artist whose daughter I'd drawn offered me her garage studio. Apartment cheap rent, furnished, walking distance to school. The art prize money was my startup fund. I had a plan. A real one. My parents fought it. Both of them suddenly united in opposition. You're 16, Mom argued. You need us. I've gone 9 months without you. I'll be fine. The court hearing was scheduled for June. Judge Morrison reviewed my petition, my plans, my art portfolio evidence that I could support myself through commissions. She interviewed me privately. Emma, emancipation is serious. Most teens who request it do so because of abuse or neglect. Your parents seem concerned about you. Now they are, I said. 9 months too late. Why didn't they fight for custody? Because I wasn't worth fighting for. I was the complication in their divorce. Easier to put me somewhere else than deal with me. Judge Morrison looked at me for a long time. I'm granting your petition with conditions. You'll maintain a 3.0 GPA. Check in monthly with a court-appointed social worker and attend counseling. If you fail any requirement, you return to foster care or family custody. Understood? Yes, Your Honor. Emma, this isn't freedom. It's responsibility. Don't waste it. I moved into the garage apartment on July 1st. 3 days after my last day at the Hendersons, Carol cried. Bob wished me luck. They'd been kind, but they'd never been home. Zoe helped me move. 2 duffel bags, plus a mattress and desk from Goodwill. Everything I owned fit in 1 carload. You did it, she said, standing in my tiny apartment. You actually did it.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. I've got 2 more years before I can try. It's not as great as it sounds. She shrugged. Better than waiting for someone else to decide your life. That first night alone, 16 years old in my own space, I didn't feel triumphant. I felt exhausted, but I also felt something else. Mine. This apartment was mine. This life was mine. These choices were mine. Sophie visited twice a week. Mom dropped her off awkwardly, never staying long, never quite meeting my eyes. Michael stopped by once, uncomfortable in my small space. Dad feels bad, he said. He didn't think it would go this far. Tell him I'm fine. Are you? Honestly, I didn't know. I was surviving, supporting myself, proving everyone wrong. But I was also 16, alone, and exhausted from having to be this strong. Senior year started. I took AP Art, maintained my grades, built my commission business. Zoe and Sophie were my family now chosen, not given. Mr. Kim entered my new series in another competition. Portraits of Survival, 7 pieces showing teenagers in foster care. Each face both broken and whole. First place, 2,000 prize. Full ride scholarship offer from Pacific Northwest College of Art. The exhibition opening was different this time. The Hendersons came. Zoe's foster family, Mr. Kim, Miss Chun, Sophie, of course. My parents came too. They stood in front of my self-portrait. Fractured girl reading. The artist's statement I'd written. This is who I became when nobody chose me. Half present, half gone. But surviving anyway. Because sometimes the family you need is the one you build yourself. Mom was crying. Dad looked broken. Emma, Mom started. I'm so sorry. I know. We made a mistake. We should have fought for you. Yes, you should have. Can we fix this? I looked at them, these people who made me, raised me, then let me go. I felt anger, yes, but also something softer. Something like forgiveness, though I wasn't ready to name it yet. I don't know, I said honestly. But I'm not waiting around to find out. I have a life now. One I built myself. Sophie squeezed my hand. I'm proud of you. Thanks, Soph. At 17, I graduated high school with honors. At 18, I started art school on scholarship. At 19, I had my first gallery show. And through it all, I kept drawing fractured faces, kept telling stories of kids who fell through the cracks, kept making visible the invisible ones, because I'd been that girl, the one nobody chose, and I'd chosen to survive anyway.